Hello, I'm going to talk today about Uranus in Taurus, and I've called this the evolving new Earth because obviously Taurus is an Earth sign and a planet about Earth and nature. And basically, Uranus is the great disruptor, basically, the the awakener, somebody, the planet that brings forward change, sudden change, empowerment, enlightenment, etc. And so it's very much about the evolving new Earth that this energy is coming together. Now, this is not new energy because Uranus has actually been sitting in Taurus since May 2018, and it will sit in Taurus until April 2026. So it has a very, very long transit through Taurus, and it's actually quite powerful at the moment, probably because it's conjunct the North Node, which is our collective destiny and future. But it's very powerful this year because there are two big planets that are really having a major impact. One is Saturn, which is in Aquarius, and the second one is actually Uranus. And because Uranus is one of the what we call the transpersonal planets, it's a big planet. It's out one of the outer planets. It actually has a lot of basically has a lot more power in terms of impact because it impacts a whole generation of people, not just a particular individual like our personal planets, which makes it extremely powerful as such. So as I said, it's been sitting there for quite some time. And as of next week, the 24th of August, Uranus will actually go stationary retrograde until October. So it actually has a little bit of stop, a time to reflect, and maybe makes us go within ourselves at this particular point in time, which can be very, very powerful. It's not it's not a fast moving planet. It's a planet that moves very slowly. So the process of change and evolution is actually quite a slow one, which happens for us over a number of years. So some of the things Uranus rules are things like it can rule things like earthquakes. This particular transit, there could be more earthquakes. There could be things like truth and awakening coming forward because Uranus really brings forward like sudden changes, dramatic changes. So things that actually come together, and it could also bring changes from within. So there may be internal processes as well. Uranus also rules electricity, power, aviation, the internet. So we could actually experience some disruptions in all of those particular areas. And it also can help us. Uranus also has a connection with the galactic beings and the higher consciousness as well. So this is also very powerful because this can actually really bring forward new messages for us as well, which help us evolve and grow as well. And it's a planet of change. It's very, very powerful. And it asks us very much to look at where do I want to change? Where do I want to surge forward? So this is really important. It's very unconventional because it does bring shocks, and sometimes it can also bring inventions because it also rules Aquarius. The energy it has, it can be very much rebellious. It can be surprising. And at this particular point in Taurus, it's influencing Taurian matters such as money, beauty, sustainability, our environment, our values, and even our relationship and connection with Mother Earth and Mother Gaia. It also helps that by understanding Uranus in Taurus, it also helps you maybe understand what's currently going on in these particular areas of our lives. So this is very powerful. The last time Uranus was in Taurus, because it is a planet that moves fairly slowly and it takes 84 years to get through a whole transit, was in 1934 to 1942. And this was a great time of great disruption. Because in the sense it was changing. This is the time of the Great Depression. We had a World War II at this particular time. And so things were moving forward and a lot of things were destroyed and changed at this particular point as well. So it brings big major issues around money and freedom as well, because that's very powerful. So we can also expect to see when Uranus and Taurian topics shift. And so we're seeing this already in things like finances. The money markets are starting to change. We're getting more into cryptocurrencies and those sorts of things. Things like the environment. Certainly we're becoming more aware of what's going on in our environment, and sustainability and food production. We've had issues around, grains and grain distribution this year. So which is very, very helpful as well. Uranus is also very connected to technology, as I've said, the internet and things like this. So this can be a great time of technological advancements as well, radical changes. That's actually really important. So we could be coming together and grounding something quite powerful. And then also Uranus in Taurus, because Taurus is about our values, can actually start to really shake up our values, breaking through what we thought about wealth, how we relate to the earth, what we think is important, what we value, etc. as well, which is really powerful. So as I said, the last time Uranus is in Taurus was the Great Depression. So there were a lot of reforms around economic issues and commercial banks breaking down, etc. And money became a really big issue, after the indulgence of the Roaring Twenties. So things like financial security became something that we became very, very, involved in. And so the cryptocurrencies are, something that's becoming very, something much more common, our use of credit cards instead of money. So these things are all changing. So Taurus is also ruled by Venus. So that's, Venus is about art and luxury. So we're also now starting to see people investing in, more things, while we're spending our money is on more valuable things, on artwork, etc. Uranus also has impact on the environment. So because Taurus is so connected to nature and the land and farming, we're seeing that there is, some innovative things happening in all of those areas as well, but also some disruptions as well. So we can also be thinking about, different ways that we're producing food as well. We're getting much more into organic, microgreens, all those things that we're actually doing at this particular point in time. Uranus also has an impact way we think about the environment, and certainly there's been a lot more environmental change and a lot more environmental movement as well, and also a movement back into returning a lot of lands to the Indigenous people, which has been something that's really important as well. And how will Uranus in Taurus affect you personally? Well, whilst it affects society, it also affects you too, because Taurus is impacting on your material possessions and your wealth, and it also governs your self-worth and things we consider valuable. We might find at this time that our values are being shaken up and changing the ways we do things and what we'd expect. We may experience looking at our roles, in terms of the carbon footprint and what we're leaving behind, what we're wanting to create, also what we're wanting to do to serve, which is becoming really, really important. We're also looking at creating more sustainable goods, which has been very, very powerful, and looking at natural resources and how we use this, and also our connection to Mother Gaia and the earth, which is another issue as well. And if we want to look at this, obviously the house placement of where your Uranus in Taurus will actually very much impact this as well, because this is where you're going to feel this energy really, really, quite strongly as such. So we still have Uranus in Taurus here until April 26th. So there's going to be plenty of shakeups and surprises. But because this is because of this aligning with the North Node of Destiny, we have to look out for flashes or insights, changes within ourselves in terms of money, possessions, and material goods. We might find that releasing some power in a certain area of ourselves, but finding greater security in unexpected places, like within ourselves, which is equally very powerful, or perhaps in other relationships that we had not sort of expected that would be the case for. So, maybe we've also had changes. I know one of the things that certainly happened since COVID has happened is that people are very much looking at work and how we make money and what we value. And all of those things have become, much a focus, where relationships and love and, living a simple life and being more sustainable and being more environmentally conscious has become very, very important. So this is something that becomes, very powerful. And this brings in a new cycle, for all of us. And so when we bring in those cycles, it also might throw us off for a bit of a loop. So it might surprise us, shock us. We may not know where things are at, and it might be a bit scary or a bit daunting, which is not unusual given that we've had such a big shake-up. And Uranus is a planet that really likes to shake things up. It really likes to set us free. But what comes with that shake-up is a real sense of personal freedom, and great power with that as well, to step more into that unique, authentic, original part of ourselves, which can also be very, very creative, because that's also the power of Uranus as well. So just having a quick look at Uranus in Taurus in the houses. In the first house, we're looking at ourself, our own self-identity, thinking about, if it's sitting in your first house, who am I? What do I really think about myself? What's the core of who I am and how I present to the world? And I'll be looking at creating a new identity as well at this particular point in time. In the second house, it basically will be shocks around your personal finances and your sense of security. You could win lots of money, you could lose lots of money, you could earn lots of money, but either way, your money situation and what you value in terms of material possessions, etc., will also get shaken up at this particular point in time. If it's in your Taurus, if it's in your third house, then the shocks will be around your understanding of how the world works and your interactions with other people. You could suddenly gain new friends or lose ones. It's going to be a radical change, probably in the network of people around you at this particular point in time. In the fourth house, the shock will come in relation to family, so that there could be an unexpected death, an unexpected birth. Somebody suddenly appears that you hadn't seen for a while. So there's some sort of gain or loss in the family. And in fifth, it'll be around children and love affairs. So, it could involve your children. You could have an unexpected one. You could also, experience some amazing creativity that makes you want to manifest something amazing in the world, because that's what that fifth house is about. So you could also have a very dramatic love affair as well, something that starts and ends in a bit of a hurry and leaves you, wondering what went on there. In the sixth house, it's around your service. So there could be breakthroughs about your service, your skills, your health, finding a way to do things, finding something, learning something different, finding different ways on a day-to-day basis. And maybe because your skills are no longer, maybe having to learn to do things differently. There might be issues around your health as well. And so you might be looking at different health routines, different diet routines, and different exercise programs as well. In the seventh house, it'll be around your partnerships. So you could be awakening through partnerships. You could be breaking with the old, the lasting partnerships, changing things up in your relationships, things that no longer work. So it's out with the old and in with the new people, and maybe out with old aspects and patterns within yourself in relationship or within your current relationship too. In your eighth house, it's around shared resources and intimacy. So there could be a death or a rebirth, and your intimate relationship or the binding relationship you have, you might be shocked by your own things, your own desires, things that you want or think you might want to break through. You could also be breaking through in terms of your shared resources, or maybe forming a partnership or ending one that's been in the partner line before. In the ninth house, it's looking shocks occur around long-held beliefs and what you always believed to be true, and your visions for the future forward, your old cultural beliefs, your old religious beliefs as well. Maybe what is it that you're really wanting to look at in this particular. You also might be thinking, finding other people that are similar. You might actually, there might be breakthroughs in terms of higher learning, where you actually find that you evolve in some way, through your understanding of certain topics, etc. Or you may just put aside a whole heap of beliefs that don't work for you anymore, and you think have done their time. In the 10th house, it'll be about rebuilding your prosperity, your success, your career. But sometimes what has to be rebuilt has to be torn down first. So what no longer works for you might need to go. You might have some real gains, you might have some losses. You might have to reevaluate all of that, but it'll be a time of definite change. In the 11th house, it's about community. It'll be happening in community. You might shock your community. You might find new ways of doing things, new traditions, because basically Uranus rules basically the 11th house. So there might be, you finding your own soul tribe, people that you didn't thought you would connect with before, because there's been so much change and things changing within you, radical change around your community and what you're seeing and how you're fitting in, and maybe the way you act within that group as well, And then the 12th house, it'll be around your spirituality. shaking up your ideas and your beliefs to the core, maybe finding some new ones. Maybe you'll need to find a new purpose, or you'll basically find some sort of other way of doing things, or another belief system, or it'll just bring you great spiritual development as well, because that's what Uranus does. It helps us evolve. So this is a very powerful transit this year, particularly given that it's conjunct that North Node. It continues to be powerful for the rest of the year until basically the North Node leaves Taurus, because they're sitting in such a close relationship. So I hope that gives you ideas about your Uranus. Uranus can be a very exciting planet, very, very shocking. It can shake us up right down to the leave us shaking in our boots, but it can also be a real time of excitement and lots of things growing and changing with us that help us really evolve and move forward. So I wish you all the best. And if you like this video, please press like and subscribe. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.